Hey folks, I'm ZombieKarl, and I wanted to talk to you today about Star Wars. The Force Awakens just came out, and people are freaking out. Oh, I don't want spoilers, or I don't want to know anything about the movie going into it. I want it to be a whole, fresh, new experience, and all that sort of jazz. Well, guess what? It's already sort of ruined for you, because A, you've seen trailers and all sorts of stuff like that. You've got all sorts of information about what's going on already. And if you haven't seen the trailers, you've seen the toys and the posters and the oranges and everything else that has had Star Wars slapped on it. You've also seen A New Hope, which means that you've basically seen this movie already. This is basically a synopsis of the movie itself. I don't plan to see it, at least not until one of my friends goes out and rents it or buys it or something like that. The folks over at SourceFed Nerd did a spoiler video, and it had a whole bunch of information from it. They did a really good job. They were definitely jazzed about the movie. Spoilers break down to Kylo Ren is Ben Solo, Han Solo, and Leia Organa's son. He destroyed the Jedi Temple, he kills Han Solo. Chewie finally gets to shoot a bad guy, and he shoots Kylo Ren. That covers the really important spoilers. I mean, besides that, the upsetting sort of fat parts are Luke shows up for a moment. Apparently he doesn't even have a spoken line within the movie. As well, all those people that were excited about Phasma, yeah, she shows up for like 10 minutes or something like that. Poe Dameron, that everybody was excited about, shows up for just about the same amount of time. BB-8 belongs to him, and instead of having the plans to the Death Star, he or she has the map to Luke. And so that's its own problem. Finn then fills the role of R2-D2 with the location and all sorts of information about the First Order and their bases and stuff like that. Apparently there's problems within that character, and my own personal theory from hearing what's going on and keeping in mind that there's another 5 movies coming out for this series, Finn's most likely going to wind up being some sort of sleeper agent or something like that and screw over the rebels, as it were. The First Order's going to come back and take over. That's my guess, at least. I might be excited to see a refreshing, dark Star Wars movie rather than all of this happy horseshit, the Jedi are cool sort of stuff. The more important part beyond this, as you folks all know, I'm a Star Trek fan, but even beyond that, I'm a sci-fi fan. Star Wars is included in that. I loved episodes 4, 5, and 6, the original trilogy that came out. Those were a part of my childhood and all that sort of stuff. As I was growing up, 1, 2, and 3 came out, and those were garbage. I didn't like them. The only redeeming part within those movies was that by the time episode 3 came out, George Lucas understood how much people hated Jar Jar Binks. He showed up on screen and didn't have any speaking lines. Sort of like Luke in the new one, except people love Luke. So stuff's getting messed up there. Yeah, he's going to show up in later movies and have all sorts of influence over stuff, I'm sure, but it's sort of just reversing it, and it's not very nice. There's so much more out there in the sci-fi genre of things. There's Red Dwarf if you want some comedy mixed into everything. There's Farscape and Stargate and Doctor Who, Sliders and Fifth Element, all these other old movies that everybody loves, but the moment that a new Star Wars movie was coming out, everybody seemed to forget about. And a lot of this other stuff is getting remakes and reboots and things like that, and it's getting pushed off to the wayside. If Star Wars is going the way of Matrix or Jurassic Park, you know, these sci-fi movies that people got super excited about, but then they burned themselves out. They were causing more damage to their own franchise than they were doing good. Aliens is even an example of that. People are torn over which Aliens movie or Predator movie or crossover movie is the best. And they're forgetting that there's even new stuff coming out that could tie all of that together and make everything even more awesome. And I think the most evident part of that is probably all of the merchandising. Yeah, it started with 4, 5, and 6 when those originally came out. Lucas kept the merchandising right, and that's how he made a lot of his money. Disney owns it now. They're already making more money off of this movie and pre-sales than like any other movie ever. This shit has gotten ridiculous. People, calm down. I haven't heard a single review for Star Wars The Force Awakens yet that includes, oh my god, it was the greatest movie ever, and my life now has meaning. If you're going to Star Wars The Force Awakens expecting that, you're going to be sorely disappointed.